Speaking of love, congratulations to our friends.
Allegedly.
Oops, no. Jonathan Majors and Meagan Good got married. Well, we knew they were engaged first because remember the party they came to after I got elected where they had the ring on. We knew all that. But, we kept their secret private, and they announced it right there at the Ebony Power 100 event that I forgot to go to. They're married. They went and got married. So it's official that they are now married and have tied the knot. Now, after going public in 2023 and getting engaged in November 2024, after 1 year of dating, Jonathan and Meagan quietly got married, in a heartfelt and intimate ceremony. Now, the couple, joined by their mothers, said, "I do." And Jonathan says it was the, quote, happiest day of his life. He recalled the moment on the Sherry Shepherd show where he got married to his Coretta. Take a listen.
And I read that y'all got married yesterday. You's a married man.
I said to Megan yesterday, I said, today might be the happiest day of my life. I love that woman so much. So how did it happen? Well, I asked her father first, right, in Paris, if that was all right. He said, that's cool. My mother's a pastor, and she came to the premiere, the LA screening.
Yeah.
We had told her that, hey, we're gonna do this thing, and we did. My mother married us yesterday. Her mother was there. Yeah, her mother was there, and we had these rings, and we got them engraved in Hawaii. But after I spoke with her father again.
Yeah.
We finally got to do it, but it was always a plan, So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Coretta, Jonathan also opened up about locking down the Coretta on The Breakfast Club, where he also revealed that Meagan lost endorsements defending him amidst his recent assault trial with ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari. Take a listen.
How does it feel that you finally locked down your Coretta?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's the ending of a chapter and the beginning of a chapter. And we got married on the 18th. That was a couple days ago.
Yes.
A couple sleeps ago. And I felt worthy of her. She is an incredible, incredible woman. I had to get to that level, spiritually, socially, emotionally. I had to mature a lot. And she caught me at a time when I was in a bad way, and I was very upfront about that with her. She said, all right, got on the plane and came to New York City and sat with me on the couch and held me when it was all going down at the heaviest place. The more I got to look at her, I was like, damn, I love this woman, and then when marriage became a thing, when it was like, oh, I'm going to marry her, I said, wait, but marriage that ain't no joke, you know what I mean? And I had to really evaluate myself even deeper, if I was to wed this particular woman. I just had a lot of shit that was just piled up that I never really dealt with, and those things hindered me socially, emotionally, spiritually. Even the relationship with my God, was not where it needed to be, and she being such a strong woman of God.
Did you ever feel like through any of that, like you were scared or nervous that like Meagan would be like, yo, this is too much for me?
All the
Like,
time.
Did you?
I told her from the jump, like, this is going to get crazy. This is going to get wild. You know what I mean?
I think that there was a lot thrown on her as well because people were like, Meagan Good, why are you doing this?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of that. I had a lot of, you sure? I mean, we're in a relationship. Now we're in a marriage. I'll keep it straight. We had moments of like, hey, babe, it's cool. You know what I mean? I love you more than I can imagine, but you got to, the ship's going down. You better, I'm Jack. You know what I mean? You let go of me and you go get it. That was a big thing. And she took so many hits, because of it. They weren't announcing it, but like she lost endorsements. We got uninvited to stuff. She got uninvited to stuff because she had shown just how down she was, and they knew if Megan's coming, Jay's coming,
Yeah, I mean, first of all, congratulations on being married and being happy. I love both of them. Everybody knows the relationship that we have with them. And when you see that they got married and when you hear what he said about her losing stuff and supporting, what do you think?
First of all, there's so much in that I love. I love how he had a small wedding with her. I love how his mom married them. I love how they, how he said that he felt worthy of her. Like, that was so powerful too. And I feel like the strongest testament, if I was famous and rich and whatever, I want to marry the person that's going to be with me when I'm broke and, you know, have a scandal. And I feel like this is so cute.
Yeah, I think this is what we should be normalizing, this kind of relationship. And like when we saw how emotional she was at the Impact Awards, seeing him be recognized for being his greatness, she was so moved, and like she was like in tears the whole night. And seeing both of them have that level of love and passion for each other is so important to me. And she may have been uninvited to things, but now like we're seeing her get things. Like she's had her first international cover, and she's now people are respecting her for standing next to her man and respecting her for being the woman she is. And I think, you know, this is what we should be honoring. This is what we should be uplifting.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, this is what love is. Love is not about, you know, riding with me when I'm got it all, like you said, or when everything is great. It's like going through the rough times with me. And then once you can survive those times, everything else is icing on the cake. You know, I want to say, you know, you brought up the Impact Awards. You know, during the stop at the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne also asked him and Lauren asked him about, you know, the new movie Magazine Dreams, which, by the way, is a phenomenal film. Very clear. I went and watched it the other night with Jonathan and Megan. In fact, I have some photos. Here's a couple photos of us the other night watching the film with all of our friends and family, their family. Anyhow, you know, great film. Well, they talked about on the Breakfast Club how the film came about and the Impact Awards and how special that moment was. And he said some things in there I wanted to talk about. So take a look.
How did Zeus Network become the home for Magazine Dream?
That's a beautiful story. Yeah. That's a beautiful story. So I just got done doing Hollywood Unlocked. Our brother and friend Jason Lee.
Jason Lee.
Yeah, what up, Jason Lee? I'm coming, bro. Don't trip. Yeah, I'm coming.
Pause. I never pause. I always said pause because of Jason, but shout out to Jason.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, Jason Lee reached out to us and was like, "Hey, man, I really want to do this." He took a shot with us, and we did the award show. And then I found out through the award show that Lemmy at Zeus was kind of like operating the whole thing. You know, like he was sponsoring the whole thing, you know, supporting the whole thing. We had a beautiful night, you know, a very healing night that night for the family, and for myself especially. And then time goes along and I get a phone call. This is after Bradcliffe had already picked it up. You know, it is what it is. You know, like people have their opinions. They go, "Hey, yeah, I don't want to help anymore." You know, we lose the money. And then, you know, a certain amount of the money, right? Tom holds steady as he always does.
Like the award show moment, I think it went so viral. I mean, you were very emotional and people got to see that, but it was like publicly the first time after everything that someone was like really taking a major chance behind you. Like this person deserves to be able to come back and say his piece or whatever.
Yes, ma'am.
That alone, like when Jason first called you for that award, how did you feel? Like, were you kind of hesitant? Were you?
So much trauma, you know, so much trauma. When he called, I was like, I mean, I was so small at that time, you know, inside, you know, I was just starting with my, you know, Avengers of therapists and pastors, you know what I mean? So I was still working a lot of things out. And when he called, I was like, man, that ain't gonna happen. Yeah. You know, like you get the first endorphin hit, the dopamine, you're like, yeah, okay, cool. But no, that's not gonna happen. They are not gonna let you do that. You know what I mean?
But Jason owns the shit.
Yeah, but even Jason was getting caught. I mean, he had resistance, right? He had resistance, and he's listening, and he knows what I'm talking about. I'm not going to put his business in the street. He had resistance. But Jason Lee said, "Hey, I'm going to get this done, bro. I got you. I'm going to get this done." You know? And I go, "All right, bro." You know, we have calls. Everybody's on the call. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? We write the speech. Speech is like, well, you know, the speech ain't gonna work. You know, I ain't gonna come up. You know, it was crazy. But Jason was, I believe in him. I believe in this. We're gonna do it, and he did it. You know.
And bringing Miss Van Zandt into it.
That was everything.
What was the planning around that? That how early out did that happen, or did she say, "Hey, I want to be involved"?
I can't speak to that in super detail, but I do know that Jason had a real conversation with her, and she understood the situation, believed in redemption, believed in, you know, helping, you know what I mean? and she came and she did it, and she did it. I felt that, you know, I felt that, and I'm so grateful to her. You know, I love it.
You know, the thing that he talked about was how much pressure all of us got. You and I got a lot of pressure in deciding to honor him. My agency called and was all concerned. I had to go down to meet with them. Then, you know, all the media, you know, was talking about it. It was a huge deal. There was a lot of weight on me to not honor him, but because I own my own shit and because it's an award show that I own, that we operate, that we produce together, we never flinched at the idea of honoring him, not just because of his talent, but because of the fact that we as Black people in general, need to be redeemable. We need to have redemption. And I talked about it at the award show. I've seen people calling out his speech. It was too long. It was long. And we edited it down. But, you know, it was not a produced moment. It was a real moment of how a Black-owned network and a Black-owned media company took a Black man and gave him a platform to be redeemed. He has since come back, and now this new movie that is in theaters, which all of you should go and see, is phenomenal. And it really puts the art back in front of the scandal. And, you know, since then, there's been all these other things where people are like, wait a minute, that didn't really happen, or that, and he's been cleared up in many ways. But what I love about this story, as Rob said, and why we really need to uplift this, is she was able to see her man through the midst of the storm. She saw him. She didn't have to take that hit. She was coming off of being divorced. She had her own career. Meagan Good is an icon in the Black community and just in general in terms of film, and has been in our lives for 30 years or less than 30 years now or whatever. She's somebody who did not have to be with a man who was going through all that, but she chose who she loved and she stood by him. And that says a lot, because a lot of y'all telling y'all, hoe ass, this, that, get out my house, this, that, whatever. What we just saw a minute ago is some of our experiences, not mine, some of y'all's. But this is something that I think we need to uplift and talk about, because when are we going to give each other grace? Not the girl who put him in jail. But when are we going to give each other grace? When are we going to give each other mercy, which is what Iyanla talked about at the award show. You know, that moment where she, and I'll show you the clip right here, where he walked on stage and she was wiping off all the shit that y'all put on him. That was powerful. I didn't even catch that until later on when I rewatched the moment, but it was an emotional moment that we all shared in the room, which really, again, to me, the gift of allowing us to do it was to really amplify the intentionality of why we built the award show. And so it was a full circle moment for a lot of us, but I will say I was really happy to see Jonathan at the Breakfast Club, out there talking, owning all the experience, absorbing it all. You know, and we keep making the joke about the Coretta, but I'm glad that he found his Coretta. And I'm glad that we all should have a Coretta. We all should have somebody in our corner who loves us unconditionally, who supports us. But what did Coretta do with Martin? She went through hell with him, not because he did anything, but because of just who he was, what he stood for, and the fight for all of us to have the freedoms that y'all all voted away. I don't want to even go there. But the truth is that Coretta, the strength of a woman, a strength of a Black woman, to see somebody like Coretta Scott King, her daughter Bernice, and those fulfilling her legacy, she stood in the fire with her man, literally when they were firebombing their houses too. And set a great example. Meagan Good is also that example. And so we don't have to, politic the wordplay, but I'm happy about this. This
Absolutely.
is good. All right. Well, look, we wish them the best. Go and see Magazine Dreams. And shout out to Lemuel Plummer. I know he got a lot of ratchet shit going on at Zeus, but, Lemuel Plummer never really gets his flowers because he's doing what a lot of mainstream networks have done forever, and that's profit off of a lot of our chaos. He's given a platform to people to illustrate their chaos, but he also has the Jason Lee show over there, which is a great show, by the way. We just had Lil Boosie. If you missed that, take a look. One of the most requested people that the Jason Lee show has ever received.
They just been on my
Wait, is it true that you didn't speak to one of your kids because he didn't cut his hair like yours?
You look like a gangbanger. That's what he had the little twist. No.
Are you in the Illuminati?
I'm a Southern Baptist. My grandpa was a preacher.
So you want to beat up Gervonta Davis? Is that a real thing? Like,
Boy, I'm gonna throw them. I bet I last 4 rounds.
would you do a song with Lil Nas X?
This I gotta say something.
Do you think they did Diddy wrong?
Of course, he got a Frico. You ever heard of a Rico by your damn self?
Because I told you I'm your new gay best friend. And it's a platform that has our award show. And so, you know, he is balancing out the content over there, and he's been a great partner. When we went through the storm with Jonathan, it wasn't a storm, it was a drizzle for me because we just, what it is. We didn't get one phone call from Lemuel about our show. Not one. That is unheard of in this world where we do things and networks will tell you you can or cannot or brand. Lemuel did not make one phone call. In fact, the other day when we had a call with him, he was telling us how excited he is for this next award show and how he's going to give us a whole bunch more money.
And another thing about him too, is like you said, he does profit off of that this negative impression of Black people, whatever. But he also gives them ownership and he gives them producer credits. 1,000%. And he does so much more.
And the check's clear. That's what
Wait, hold on. Cleared. I have to say, and I'm glad you brought that up. You know, even though Natalie Nunn is mad at me because she probably has had either too much Ozempic or she has too many Chanel bags from Lemmy. Natalie Nunn is literally gonna go down in history as one of the most iconic people to take a show that a mainstream network created, probably paid her pennies to go and beat everybody up. Lemuel took that brand energy and following, flipped it. She built her own show on this network as executive producer. She is the boss on the #1 show, beating out Jocelyn's show on the Zeus network. Jocelyn who? She took Yo Cabaret and cabareted it right there in the baddies. All the baddies from Yo Cabaret could go right over there and get a real, anyway, I got caught up. They can go over there and make $30,000 an episode. Anyway, what Natalie's been able to do as a boss, as an executive producer now, you got to take your hat off. I'm going to give her a round of applause. You got to take your hat off to Natalie. And look, you know, she might be mad at me because she was cheating on her. Man, Tommy said it, not me. You know, but I have an immense amount of respect for her, and she shows up as a boss, and she ain't trying to be Lemmy. She's just Natalie, and she's getting her props for the work that she put in. And I kind of joked earlier, but when we talked about Rennie and Black Zach, is it Black Zach? But Mona Scott Young was paying us $1,000 an episode to film for 6 months. If it aired, we got paid. And we were out doing all the things they're doing on the baddies. And Lemuel he is paying. He taking the baddies to Africa. They beating each other up in the motherland. Okay, motherland. Somewhere Nelson Mandela is somewhere rolling over in his grave talking about apartheid. What? When y'all brought Natalie and the girls over there to beat each other up on the way with rose petals and everything. Y'all just took the Coming to America. Lemuel, you need your ass whooped for that. Where Ray J at? Anyway, shout out to the Zeus Network and shout out to all of those over there. But I bring up Lemuel because Lemuel not only promoted, paid for the award show, he put $2 million into this film, Magazine Dreams. Let me go ahead and show y'all. Let me give it some free promo. Take a look. Johnny got a whole bunch of assets to find out for the show. You making note, Johnny? Because sometimes Johnny I don't know if he be getting coffee when we do the show, but the show come out and I be throwing the assets and they don't appear. Johnny asked me to get together. Anytime you see a show where no assets appear, Johnny did it. Because he probably posting Ross's TikTok or some shit, you know. Promote your man. Anyway, bye.